All right, give it a little test,
I had too many cupcakes.
If you puke on these mics...
It's alive!
You'll never grow old, Michael, and you'll never die. But you must feed.
And I, the devil, now kindly undo these straps.
Down to Freddy's coming for you.
A rather early Happy Halloween from the Containment Unit podcast. I'm Tony.
I'm Lindsay.
And the reason we're saying an early Happy Halloween, by the time this goes up, it'll be just under 2 weeks until Halloween. And this is a topic that we actually wanted to do before the actual holiday itself. We didn't want to do it like the week of Halloween, because what we're talking about this week are the best movies to get you into the Halloween spirit. And you kind of need that as early as possible in the month of October. We were supposed to do this a little bit earlier, but scheduling issues, Lindsay was a little under the weather, so we're a little bit later than we intended, but we still wanted to make sure that we had enough time before Halloween, in case there's a movie that we talk about that you're not familiar with, you have a chance to check it out before Halloween.
Yeah, because, if you get a list of good Halloween movies on Halloween, you kind of don't have time to sit and chill and watch them all and feel nice and spooked out. And
Exactly. For me, and I think this goes for a lot of people, Halloween isn't it's not a single day. As soon as the calendar clicks over to October 1st, Halloween is on.
It's on.
It's on. You got to start watching movies, got to get the decorations out, put the cobwebs up.
Not that we have much by way of decorations out yet.
No, we don't. But we're
again scheduling.
We're getting things up. We're getting a few more decorations up. But so today we're talking about. We each put together our own list, and the instructions were the 5 kind of, I guess we would say, favorite.
Our top 5, yeah, that you have to watch every Halloween.
Absolutely. And these are the ones that, at least on my part, and maybe Lindsay feels differently, that it's kind of like I have a hard time watching these outside of the Halloween lead up. Mm-hmm. Like if it's February or March, I just don't feel the need to watch these films.
I've got one on my list that I can watch outside of Halloween because I absolutely love it, but it's just such a good... I remember watching it, I was just, one of those types of movies that at Halloween you just got to put it on with every other one that gives you that same creep factor.
We'll definitely get to that here in just a minute, but I want to start this off by saying first, this is not meant to be the best horror movies or anything like that, because there's a couple movies on here that are very tame and just enjoyable. It's all about the spirit and the feel of Halloween.
Right.
And also, Lindsay's not big on the horror movies,
no.
the graphic horror films.
No.
I am.
Oftentimes he watches them while I'm doing something else because I'm just kind of like, no thanks.
Yeah. She'll be taking a shower and I'll be downstairs on Netflix watching Cult of Chucky.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Cult of Chucky, it's on Netflix. Watch it. That is such a fun movie. It is bat crap ridiculous, but nowhere near as bad as Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. Goes back to a much darker tone. And Brad Dourif as Chucky, he's done the voice every film. I won't explain why, but in this one, he has multiple opportunities to voice Chucky. And there's one scene that is just drop dead hilarious. And
then also his daughter coming in.
Yeah, and the lead in this one, just like in the last one, is his daughter Fiona Dourif, and now she's sharing the screen with I think his name is Alex Vincent. That's it. I wanted to say Alex Vega, but that's somebody else. But Alex Vincent is the one that played Andy in the first 2 films, and he's back. And this is really a love letter to anybody that grew up with the Child's Play movies. So
really quick, is this movie on your list?
No, it is not.
Okay.
It is not. No Child's Play movies made my list. If we did a top 10, top 15, I definitely would have snuck one of them on there.
Right.
Just because I'm a big fan of Chucky as as a slasher icon. But no Child's Play, no Child's Play movies on my list here. But I did want to just throw that out there. If you get a chance, that is definitely one to check out this season. But I do want to start my list off with an honorable mention.
Okay.
And this is not one that would ever make my top 5 or even top 10 list as a movie. What it represents definitely for me makes the list. John Carpenter's Vampires.
Aww.
Now, you can tell by Lindsay's reaction, sentimental value here.
Yeah.
The reason for this, let me paint the picture. 1998. It's my senior year in high school. Lindsay's sophomore year. And I finally got the guts up to ask her out. And
Ask out the cute new girl.
yeah, the cute new girl in our theater class. So I asked her out, and I kind of played it as we're going out as a group thing, but I'd like you to be my date for it. Because every year I would throw parties at my house for my birthday, Halloween. Everybody liked coming over to either my house or, more often than not, Brian's house, but my house was the backup. And so we were going to have a Halloween party, but we were going to start the night by going to see a movie together. And it was Halloween night, 1998, and we saw John Carpenter's Vampires. So that was our first date 19 years ago.
And I was a vampire.
Yes, Lindsay was dressed as a vampire. She's a natural brunette, but she was bleach blonde when I met her. And so that is just... It is a fun movie. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy the film. Not one of John Carpenter's best.
Right.
This is nowhere near anything that he did with like Kurt Russell. You know, The Thing, Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, even like They Live with Roddy Piper. Not one of his top tier films, but it's very fun. Very much the John Carpenter feel with the music, the setting. The hero in this one is James Woods. And I don't really look at James Woods as an action star, but he does a pretty good job. And, this is kind of a last minute thing to bring this up. I wish I had looked up the actor's name, but the main villain in it was... Oh,
he was in a Karate Kid.
Yeah, Karate Kid Part 3. And he was just a fantastic vampire. And the lines in the film, the dialogue is hilarious
so
when it needs to be. It's cheesy.
So cheesy.
James Woods is the whole film. He kind of gets off on making the priest uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And he's asking him, hey, when I was kicking your ass back there, did you get a little chubby?
No, he starts making like literal wood jokes.
Yeah, making jokes about the priest getting wood. But there's one thing about this that we always have to say, and it's not a line from the film, but it was a line that one of our friends interjected into the movie in this packed theater. So if you've seen it, we'll kind of remind you of it. But if you haven't seen it, kind of quickly paint the picture. James Woods is the leader of a vampire hunter group, a pack of slayers who are working for the Catholic Church.
Right.
And their whole team has been wiped out. The only survivors are him and his best friend, Anthony, played by Daniel Baldwin.
I can never remember which Baldwin he is. I'm like, he's a Baldwin.
Daniel Baldwin. Very clearly a Baldwin.
Yeah, you just gotta look at his face and go, Baldwin.
Now, one of the bits of vampire lore that they put into this movie is that when a master bites a victim, while they're in the process of turning, it's not an instantaneous turn.
No,
it's
it
a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a psychic link. So they find a prostitute that was bit, and they take her with them so they could keep an eye through her on the master. And so she's covered in blood, she's sweaty, beat up. So Daniel Baldwin cleans her up and ties her down to a bed.
So she can't get away.
So she can't get away, but ties her down naked, face down on a bed. And so it goes to the scene, Baldwin enters this hotel room, and it pans over, and there's the actress, Cheryl Lee from Twin Peaks. She's tied down, butt up in the air, stark naked, and it's dead silent in the theater. And one of my best friends, Brian, just speaks up, typical Baldwin. And I don't remember what the lines were right after that because the whole theater was just dying of laughter. So, unfortunately, Brian is no longer with us, going on, gosh, what?
13?
13 years now.
Just past
He's-
the 13th
yeah.
year anniversary.
And so every time we watch that, we get to that scene.
Someone's got to say it.
Somebody's got to say the line.
Somebody's gotta say
Typical Baldwin. So that's my honorable mention for several reasons. John Carpenter's Vampires. Got to watch it every Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lindsay, why don't you go ahead and start the official list here? In no particular order. We're just kind of, each of us have a top 5. So what have you got?
I'm actually going to start with the kid movie on my list.
Oh, the family-friendly. Okay.
The family-friendly one, because there's such an air about this movie. It was done back in 01. It's called When Good Ghouls Go Bad.
Oh, okay. I figured this would be on your list.
Yeah, and this one, it's like I said, it's just got this air to it because it's one of those ones. It takes place at Halloween in this small town, and it's about a supposed curse that's on this town where a boy was killed so many years ago, and in the ashes, when the boy's body was found in the ashes of this, like, he was burnt to death in a kiln, and in the ashes it said something like, "If you ever have another Halloween, I'll come back and destroy you all," or something like that.
For this kid, imagine the love child between Professor Snape and Tim Burton. That is, this kid looks like the lead singer of The Cure. That's the way that they make this kid look, and
He's very goth.
yeah, very
goth.
And I think it's supposed to, like, this part of the film, when they explain it, takes place like in the early to mid 80s. Maybe?
81.
Okay.
81, and he gets trapped in the kiln, and the kiln gets turned on, and kiln gets turned on, and you kind of die, and but so now everyone's like, oh, if we ever have another Halloween, because there was like a statue in there, and the kid who found him said that it made him go blind for 3 days because it was pure evil. And so now everyone's terrified that if they ever have another Halloween, they're not even allowed to have pumpkins. It's just, completely crazy. And then this family moves back, and the grandpa in the family is played by Christopher Lloyd.
And this is honestly one of Christopher Lloyd's most underappreciated roles.
It's so cute, but he dies and he comes back as a zombie, so he's in the whole thing. And by the end of the movie, there's really cheesy zombies.
Yeah. Very cheesy. This is where you're gonna laugh the most, is when the zombies show up.
Because one of the things about the movie is that Halloween decorations, really, really good Halloween decorations, start showing up all over town. Everyone's blaming this family, the Walker family. You're putting up these Halloween decorations.
The ones that just came back to town.
Right.
Basically, it's Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher
son.
Lloyd never left. Yeah.
But it's his son
and grandson,
daughter-in-law, and
No.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm mistaking a character. But yeah,
Yeah.
his son and then grandson.
Yeah.
And the grandson's basically the lead character.
Yeah, basically, the lead character, but all these decorations start showing up all over the place, and they're blaming the Walkers for putting all the decorations up and trying to bring back Halloween, and they're going, "We didn't put any decorations up. We don't know what the heck you're talking about." And so then what you find out is the zombies have been putting the decorations up. Before you even see them, you never even see the zombies. But then all the zombies start coming out. And this one guy actually...
On Halloween night.
And this one guy actually runs out and goes, "Run for your lives! There's zombies running everywhere, and they're putting up Halloween decorations!"
And the question is asked, who's putting up Halloween decorations?
And then
just as three zombies
come in.
enter the frame.
And they go, "The zombies!"
It is so hokey, but it is
It's really good.
It's a great hokey. It's a sweet hokey, and it makes me tear up every time we watch it.
Well, because those last scenes where you see, the zombies are not evil. They're not trying to.
Okay, well let's pretense this, and I probably should have said this earlier. Spoiler: this whole episode, like last time when we talked about Kingsman, we're movie
spoiler
buffs.
alert.
We're gonna do a general spoiler alert. So we're gonna give away, if you haven't seen any of these movies and they sound interesting to you, pause it, go watch it, and then come back and we'll talk more about it.
Keep in mind that, we're discussing, our favorite movies, so of course we're going to geek out over them and just end up telling everything that's in them. So, but, I lost my train of thought.
But we were talking about why I choke up.
Oh, yeah.
And because of the end.
Yeah, because, so the zombies, they're not there trying to eat people's brains. They're actually there trying to bring back Halloween to this town, trying to, get rid of a lot of the misconceptions that have been going on. And like the Walker boy, the grandson, the main character, he's constantly being bullied because he's a walker. And because, the grandfather, Christopher Lloyd's character, he ran this candy factory, and he's think kind of like a mild Willy Wonka. He ran this candy factory, and he's really eccentric and
everybody
everything.
loves him.
And he never called him Grandpa. He called him Uncle Frank, I think was the character's name.
Well, that was like his name that everybody knew him as.
So,
everybody called him
that. Everybody called him that, but even his family was informed to call him that to keep up the identity of Uncle Frank with the rest of the community and everything. And so, but the reason why we get teary-eyed is because at the very end, all these zombies have come out together, and you see these zombies going, "There's my wife, there's my husband," and they're just dancing. And it's this whole thing of Christopher Lloyd is voicing over all this stuff, and he's got such a calming voice while he's saying the stuff, and it's the whole thing of saying that they were comforted knowing that the dance wasn't really over.
And it's while the zombies are actually dancing in a very sweet ballroom style dance.
Right, yeah. And there's clouds like wisping around them. There's fireflies everywhere in the night. And it's very sweetly done, very beautifully edited at that point. And it's just, it's nice.
Yeah, and it is such a sweet story, especially when you find out that the boy that died is the one that you kind of see the most. He's the zombie other than Christopher Lloyd's character that you see the most of in this film. Mm-hmm. And they make him as a zombie look evil. Yeah. And he's really not. And
he's skeletal because he was
burned. Yeah. But you get the revelation of what he was doing with the kiln. And you get his reasoning for why he was... Basically, all that was going down was an art contest. And Christopher Lloyd's character was very big into art. Right. And this boy was making a statue of the person he idolized, and it was Christopher Lloyd's character. Mm-hmm. And the boy that said, "Oh, it's pure evil," was jealous. It was pure jealousy. Because he wanted his dad's statue. He even
faked blindness for 3 days to make people believe that it was evil. And he's the one who actually put into the ashes in the kiln. I just realized that means that he put his finger into human ashes without even thinking
don't look
about
too much into certain things, because then it gets creepier than it needs to be.
Right.
But definitely When Good Ghouls Go Bad, it was not a theatrical release.
No, it was
this is a made for TV film.
movie. Yeah.
But you can get it on DVD. It's on Amazon, and it really is a very good family film, almost like a Halloween Town. I know a lot of people like that one. Mm-hmm. Not one I'm fond of, but When Good Ghouls Go Bad, you got me into that one. I love watching that with you and the girls.
And I actually put that on my list before. I don't have Hocus Pocus on my list because I figured that was going to come up. Why didn't no one mention Hocus Pocus? Because my girls love Hocus Pocus so much that they watch it pretty regularly all year long.
Yeah, our daughters have been asking for it pretty heavily for the past 6 months.
Yeah, well, not even then. Like, Tori watches it all. Like, last Halloween, the first time she ever saw it,
that is true.
She started watching it. She would just regularly decide that she wanted to watch it, and so because of that, I can't really put it onto my list because I watch it so frequently with the girls throughout the year.
It's kind of like no longer a Halloween
it's
movie.
no longer Halloweeny for me.
Now, before we go on to the next film, I do want to mention Hocus Pocus. We originally were going to do this with a group of friends, but because of scheduling and illness, we weren't able to do that. And I was going to call this the list of everyone's got Hocus Pocus on their list but me. Because it's not on my list either. I enjoy it, but it's not a top 10 film for me. But it's in the news right now because we are getting a made-for-TV remake.
Yeah.
And what gets me is all these people are freaking out. They're remaking Hocus Pocus without the original cast.
Like, when do you ever remake a movie with the original cast?
Well, like the original Frankenstein films, kinda, because they retconned with like every new film. They acted like certain things didn't happen. But by modern standards, how many remakes and reboots star the original cast?
Yeah.
And then I realized I'm guilty of doing this too, because a couple episodes ago we were talking about best reboots, and we started talking about they're rebooting Hellboy. And I actually said the words, they're rebooting Hellboy without Ron Perlman.
That's because we didn't want an actual reboot to Hellboy. We wanted a sequel from the original.
Exactly.
Too.
And at the same respect, a lot of people are saying they don't want a reboot of Hocus Pocus. They want a sequel.
Yeah.
They want everybody back together, and Kathy Najimy and Sarah Jessica Parker, Bette Midler. I think they could all do it. I think they could all jump back into their parts. But yeah, maybe it's been too long and studios aren't positive.
Yeah,
on
but
the
I
idea.
would still like to see like Thora Birch's character grown up and how that event shaped the rest of her life.
Yeah. You'll find out what happened with her brother and that other
what's her
girl.
face girl who used to date Jonathan Brandis.
Did they actually date?
Yeah.
Because I know they were in Ladybugs together.
They were in Ladybugs together, and they actually dated during or shortly after Ladybugs.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so kicking off my list, it is a little bit of a cheat because it's not one film. It's two films because I consider it a double feature. You gotta watch them together. It is definitely not horror, but it's very gothic.
With a little BDSM thrown in there.
With a lot, I would say. When you really look into it, it's a lot. But Addams Family and Addams Family Values.
Yeah.
For me, these movies are so much fun. They're very well written. When you watch them again and again, you start picking up on jokes that you didn't catch the first few times that you watched them. And even when you hear the jokes that you've heard 5-10 times over every time you watch it, you're still laughing your tail off. What's she doing? Just the course. Have a nice day. It's just such a beautifully casted dynamic.
Yeah.
Raul Julia
Yeah.
is just amazing as Gomez.
Line that we were quoting earlier. Slow down! It's terrible when you stutter!
When things trying to do a
more.
sign language.
He's doing a little bit of sign, but he's also doing Morse code.
Well, no, because that's when he gives up on sign language. He does Morse code. But yeah, it's an infinitely quotable film. A lot of them from Christina Ricci. Mm-hmm. And when she says, I'll buy a glass of lemonade if you buy one of my boxes of delicious Girl Scout cookies. Are they made from real Girl Scouts? And it's funny who that girl ended up becoming. The Girl
Harmony.
Scout. Harmony from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But Angelica Houston as Morticia.
Yeah.
Amazing. What was it? Cher apparently was campaigning for that part.
Oh, really?
No way would anybody do anything better than what Angelica Houston did.
Like the way she stands, her line inflection, her vocal inflection with her lines. Oh, one of my favorite scenes between both of those movies is in the first one, and it's the graveyard scene after Fester has been. At the time he's not Fester, he's Gordon, and he's been trying to figure out the things,
the chains and everything. And it's where she's giving him the tour, basically.
Right. Telling him how much he means to the family based on, like his vulture who died. She wouldn't circle, she wouldn't peck. That's how much you mean to this family, and everything. And like, oh my gosh, I love that scene.
And that's where we find out the Addams Family motto, which is basically like, we'll feast on the bones of our enemies.
We gladly feast upon those who would subdue us, not just pretty words.
Again, it's infinitely quotable. It's, hello, Sally. Please stop calling. We do not know where they meet. And everything about the film looked amazing. You didn't notice the changes that they made from the television show to this. In the TV show, Fester was Morticia's uncle, and Granny was Gomez's mother.
Morticia's uncle?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was Morticia's uncle. And now in this, Fester is a direct Addams.
Addams, yeah.
And Granny is Morticia's mother.
Right.
So nobody ever bothered with that.
Not bad at all, yeah.
Everything fit. Everything made sense. You had a great cast. This is the film that introduced Christina Ricci to pop culture. And she's amazing. Just never been able to live up to kind of what we thought she would after this and the sequel and then Casper.
Right.
And but there's a reason why in Addams Family Values, she's basically the second star of the film.
Yeah.
They give her half the movie.
Yeah.
And it's great. And it's just so much. Okay, which one are you laughing at now?
I'm going to be an actress. And then she goes into the water. Help me, help me. I'm drowning. Help me, I'm dying. I can't swim.
Well, and then just before that, I'll be the victim all your life. So just brilliant line delivery, and with Gomez, isn't he a lady killer? Acquitted. I mean, we could sit here for an hour just quoting our favorite lines from Addams Family, but it is one that is just a lot of fun. The gothic tone makes it perfect. Both films, even though the second film, half of it takes place at a cheery camp rich kid for that Wednesday and Pugsley go to, even that is still so much fun, but the gothic tone balances it to where it's still a great Halloween film.
The Happy Turkey Day song always makes me just laugh.
I'm a turkey. Eat me.
I was also thinking of it's another line from the first one, when Wednesday is walking past with a small knife, and then Morticia goes, "Is that for your brother?" "Yes." "I don't think so." And she takes the knife from her hands with like this gigantic axe thing.
Oh gosh, we've already watched it. We've already watched both films this year. I think we're gonna have to watch them again after this. But so yeah, that's my double feature. That's my first pick is Addams Family and Addams Family Values. What's next on your list, hon?
Oh, okay. Since I already brought it up earlier, I want to go ahead and mention it now. The one that I said it doesn't have to be Halloween for me to watch it because I love this movie, but it's good to watch at Halloween. Attack the Block. It's got John Boyega, who now we know of as Finn in the Star Wars sequels.
Yes.
Right? And it's also got one guy, I'm really bad with names, but he's on DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
Okay, I know the actor you're talking about, but yeah, I can't think of his name either. But he's one half of
Firestorm.
Yeah.
He's in that too. So you've got actors in this that are now getting up and starting to do stuff. It's also got Jodie Whittaker, who is about to be introduced as the new Doctor.
Yeah, on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And this was like the big introduction for a lot of American audiences to Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah.
And she's just done phenomenal stuff ever since.
She is brilliant in Broadchurch, which has got Arthur Darvill and David Tennant in it. And she plays this mother whose son is killed. And just a really emotional part, and she does a brilliant job in that. But the first time I ever saw her was in Attack the Block. And it's this... it's about these, if you're not familiar with it, it's about these aliens that come down and they look like giant ink blot bear dogs.
That is probably the best description we can give for that, because they're so black that light doesn't escape them.
They get next to the body of one of them and put their hands in it, and it's like their hand just disappears because of how black these dogs are,
the
these
fur is.
creatures are.
And they have, when you first see them, what looks like glowing
blue eyes. Mm-hmm.
And you quickly realize, no, those aren't the eyes. It's the teeth. That when their mouth is closed, they constantly have two openings on the side where their glowing teeth show. But when they snarl, it is, oh, damn.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But I mean, this movie, it's just action filled. It is suspenseful because the whole time you're just like, how are they going to get by? How are they going to get past this? And once they get past it, you're like, okay, they're good. And then you realize they're so not good because there's other stuff going on.
Yeah, and this is following a group of kids. This is following a group of what I think is called in British culture hoodies. They're basically just a group of delinquents.
Yeah,
and they all live in the same apartment block, and they see something fall to the ground. They think is like a meteor, and this white ape-like creature comes out, and these kids think that they're all hot shit, and they take
we
their
can
bats
take down
out.
anything. Type of
and they
attitude.
kill it.
Yeah,
and they get its blood all over them, and then they quickly realize that one, it's not alone, and two, what they killed was the female.
Well, they don't quickly realize of this stuff.
This part but they quickly realize there's more coming.
Yeah.
What they realize later is that what they did is they killed the female, and the males are all kind of ticked off following the scent.
Yeah, they're following the pheromone scent.
Yeah.
From the female.
And so it all takes place in this confined area. It's almost like a sci-fi Die Hard with British teenagers. And I gotta warn anybody, if you haven't seen this and you're interested, subtitles. Their accents are so thick. Lindsay and I are very familiar with English films, English TV shows, and
those are some of our favorite
which are
films,
some of our favorite stuff. And we've done theater before, we've worked with accents, and we're very familiar with English accents, and even we have to put on subtitles because their accents are so damn thick.
The first time we watched it, I'm sitting there going, did you catch anything that they just said? We're like, no, absolutely nothing. What?
And this is one of those films that is going to shock people if you've never seen it before, because it does surround a group of kids. And I'll tell you right now, not all of them make it to the end.
Right.
This is not something like Goonies where, oh, they're in a life or death situation, but everything's going to work out.
Yeah,
they're
all children, so they're all going to survive. No.
Heads roll.
Literally.
Heads roll in this film. And it is suspenseful, but it's beautiful. Visually, everything is interesting. The suspense of it being in an apartment block is just, you don't know what's around every corner, and that's just...
I love the character connections, too.
Yes.
Because it starts with Jodie Whittaker's character. She's a nurse who's getting off of work and heading back to her block. And how she originally meets these little punks is they jump her. They mug her. Yeah. And later on, they happen to see her, and one of their guys has already gotten hurt by these creatures. Like, you got to help him. And because they see her name badge or something like that and realize that she's a nurse. And she's like, I'm just a nurse, I'm not a doctor. And then she's also refusing to help them because they jumped her, because they mugged her. And when she realizes that what they're in is actually a very serious situation, and now she is in it too, she does end up helping them. But she learns more about them throughout this ordeal, like some of the situations that they are personally in.
Like John Boyega as Moses.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the ringleader.
Yeah.
And
he's the oldest of them too.
It's never, I don't think the rest of them, their ages are ever really outright said.
Yeah.
But they're very much young teen.
Yeah.
But John Boyega carries himself rather maturely. And then when she sees his room and realizes he still's got he still has like little
like
kid sheets.
Spider-Man sheets or something like that. And
Yeah, he's still a kid.
and she even asks him, "How old are you?" And she says, "You have a little brother," and he goes, "No, it's just me." And she's like, "Well, how old are you?" And he says, "Like, I'm 15 or something like that."
Yeah, and you would think he was like 18 or 19. in
Yeah,
this.
and he probably actually was when he filmed it, but just it's a really good movie, and they just develop these connections in it, and there's such a good chemistry with the whole cast that it's really fun to watch.
It really is, and it is a feel good film. It is funny, but it is shocking if you're not ready for it to be such an action-packed and suspenseful film.
Oh, it was definitely one of those movies where over it, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they just did that.
Let's go from one British film to another.
Okay.
Next on my list, Shaun of the Dead.
Okay.
By far my favorite zombie film, and I will even say from kind of like a very analytical point, I think it is one of the best zombie films ever made. Now, I think for the most part, everybody's going to be familiar with Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
I think it's part of pop culture enough that we don't
Yeah.
really have to go too much into it.
Right.
But it is the first of the Cornetto trilogy.
Right.
And, followed up by Hot Fuzz and then The World's End. And it's a great zombie spoof in that it perfectly captures what it's spoofing and becomes a great addition to that genre.
Right.
Kind of like what Mel Brooks did with Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
That they're spoofing Westerns and Frankenstein films respectively, but they actually feel like a Western and a Frankenstein film. Same here. This feels like a apocalyptic zombie
movie,
film.
yeah.
And the dynamics across the board are great. I don't think there's a bad character in the film. You love the characters you're supposed to. You dislike the characters you're supposed to, but even the ones that you dislike, when they meet their end, you feel bad for them.
Yeah.
Because of there was a resolution or the way they get it. You're like, oh, damn, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy kind of thing. And, it is the humor of Simon Pegg and
Nick Frost?
Edgar Wright. I'm
Edgar
sorry.
Wright, okay.
Edgar Wright is the director of the film and the co-writer. And I think when those two are together, fantastic work.
Yeah.
When Simon Pegg goes off and works with other people, like he did Paul with Nick Frost, they worked on that together. Not as good as Shaun of the Dead and other
Still a
stuff,
good movie, though.
but still very good. Back to Shaun of the Dead, the cast is brilliant. Nick Frost as Ed is the best part of the film.
Yeah.
Because you like him and you hate him at the same time.
Yeah.
You like him for his lines. You like him for his devotion and his friendship to Sean. But then when he starts being selfish and when he starts being an idiot,
Yeah.
you don't blame Sean for yelling at him. You don't blame Sean for slapping him upside the head because he kind of brought it on himself. And then at the end, when he's bit, you're just like, I'm okay. No, it's okay. And it's like, and then you're kind of sitting there going, maybe they're going to get a cure and they can bring him back. But then at the end, he's tied up in there and he's playing video games. And I'm like, he's happy. It's okay. That's what he would want. Just stay home, playing video games. He's good.
Just feed him some brains from time to time.
Give him a human foot every now and then. He'll be fine. But it is funny. It is one of the most smartly written comedies in the past 30 years. But it's also terrifying because they really do make you feel backed into a corner, especially the climax at the end in the Winchester. You really feel for them. They're surrounded. They've got to get out doing whatever they can. But it also has some of the most ingenious use of music I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Specifically with Queen's Don't Stop Me Now.
Yeah.
Weed had to have been involved for them to be sitting around the table going, I've got an idea. We're going to beat a zombie with pool cues to the beat of Queen. Who comes up with that?
I would have to say Simon Pegg.
Exactly.
Right.
These guys are genius when they work together. And one thing that I absolutely love about this film compared to other zombie films is, we've talked in the past, in an unreleased test that we did,
Yeah.
we talked a little bit about World War Z.
Yeah.
And you look at other zombie films, Night of the Living Dead. This year, I finally got you to watch Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
All of these are...
I think I lost brain cells on that one.
Hey, that is dumb fun. That movie was a lot of fun. Not the most genius cast ever.
I'm trying to remember which one it was, though, where they have the line, "Wait, let me eat your brains. I'm the one that loves you." That's got to be somewhere.
That's definitely out there somewhere. But with all of these films, even when there's a resolution, it's still the zombie apocalypse. Apocalypse being the key word. Life does not go back to normal for these people.
Right.
Except for Shaun of the Dead, where this is kind of like a zombie weekend. And now zombies are just a part of life. They've got them in game shows. They've got them on TV shows.
They've got them shackled and running carts at grocery
At the
stores.
local grocery store. But for the most part, life is continuing.
Yeah.
Everything is fine and dandy for these people. And I've always, thought that's the way a zombie film should go, because I kind of feel like that's what would happen in reality. Unless if zombies ever become a reality, unless it's an airborne virus that gets everybody like that, I think we got it under control. Because you're going to have thousands of geeks like myself that have played Resident Evil and video games for years coming out of the house with shotguns going, "Don't worry, guys, I got this." We know what to do in a zombie apocalypse, because in all of these films where they're taken off guard, they all have a common feature. They've never heard of zombies.
Yeah.
Zombies do not exist in their pop culture. They do in Shaun of the Dead, because they're saying, "Are zombies out there? Oh God, that's ridiculous. Don't say that." So, same in reality. I feel like this was kind of like a different take on things that made it very fresh and very fun. Okay, so Linz, what do you have next on your list?
Let's see. Let's do Monster Squad.
Okay, so Monster Squad's on my list too. I
Okay.
think this might be the only one we cross over on.
Yeah,
but
probably. Yeah.
So Monster Squad, why did that make your list?
Again, it's another one of those, it doesn't have the Halloween-y feel like I was talking about with When Good Ghouls Go Bad, with like all the decorations that come out, small town living, stuff like that, fall leaves falling and everything. But it takes place at Halloween, and you still see them, it's your classic movie monsters. And
This is the best use of the Universal monster design since the originals.
yeah, and just I love just the actor portrayals of the different things, the quirkiness, the lines, and then also the ability to make fun of it while also loving it.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't take itself too seriously, and I credit that to one of the writers, Shane Black.
Yeah.
Shane Black, writer-director of Iron Man 3, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Right.
The guy knows how to write serious humor.
He's doing Predator now, isn't he?
Yeah, he was actually in the first Predator.
Right, yeah.
He was the first member of the team to get killed, but now he is writing and directing the new Predator.
Right. Anyway.
But yeah, so Shane,
Back on topic,
Shane Black, writer of Monster Squad, and you can really feel him and Fred Decker working in harmony on this, because, again, there's really not a weak character in this film.
Right.
Everybody fits a role perfectly. Even if you feel like they're not needed for the overall story of everything, they're still great. Nobody's really given anything bad to do. Like the mom.
Right.
She's not really needed for the overall story. The whole thing with her and the dad having marital problems is completely unnecessary.
You don't even
for
really
the whole point of the film.
You don't even see it affecting the main boy at all.
Exactly.
Really.
But they do such a good job with things that it's compelling. And you're sitting there, I really hope they work things out, that kind of thing. Even though it has nothing to do with Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster all showing up.
Yeah. But then also the little girl She's what, 4?
She's like 4 or 5 in this.
I think she's actually said in interviews that she was 4 at the time of filming.
Yeah.
And you just, oh gosh.
Mom says you have to let me in, otherwise it's prescription.
Prescription what you're on if you think is drugs what you're on if you think you're getting up here. But just some of the things that are so easy to make fun of, but then some of the things that are classic parts that you absolutely love, like Wolfman's got nards.
That is the most beloved line in this movie. Everybody, no matter how many times they've seen Monster Squad, they know the line of Horace, Wolfman's got nards. But I will go on record saying that is not the best line in the film.
Okay.
The best line in the film, where are you going, Rudy? I'm in the goddamn club, aren't I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because the
way he delivers it.
Yeah, it's him walking by this 14, 15-year-old kid with a cigarette in his mouth, basically walking up to take down the brides of Dracula. Badass personified.
Yeah.
That is such a great scene, and I love that line far more than Wolfman's got nards.
Yeah.
And I will admit that that's one of the greatest movie lines of all time.
And then I feel so bad after watching like the behind the scenes stuff for the little girl because of Dracula going, "Give me the amulet, you bitch," and then hissing at her to find out that scream that you see
Is legit.
That girl was absolutely terrified because they filmed the him hissing at her first before the line. And so they had to actually stop filming for a little bit to get her to calm down before he could do the line, I think. If I remember seeing that correctly.
And I could be remembering it differently. Maybe I misunderstood, but I had always understood it as they couldn't get the right reaction. She wasn't really screaming right. You could tell it was forced. She wasn't coming off as scared. So between the actor and the director, Fred Decker, they agreed, put in the fangs, don't tell her, and let's legitimately scare her.
Really?
Which I feel so... we have a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine her being okay after something like that. But
I know he felt horrible. I remember seeing interviews with him saying that he felt so guilty and so bad about it. And then you learn that Frankenstein's monster is a dick.
Tom, what's his name? Tom Noonan is not known for being the nicest guy on set. The one that played Rudy mentioned that he tried to talk to him person to person, and he just stayed in character so much that he was kind of not the nicest guy to the kids.
Yeah, well, even the guy playing Frankenstein's monster,
Tom Noonan.
Yeah, he even in the interviews on the special features and everything, he just basically had the mentality of stupid kids when working with them. So.
Yeah, because he's a legitimately trained actor, a classically trained actor, and he kind of went in probably with an arrogance of, oh gosh, I'm dealing with all these newbie kids, they've never done anything before, I'm going to be a professional. And it's, no, you kind of, you're not doing Shakespeare here, dude. You know, you're doing, mid 80s, monster movie.
Yeah.
Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Goof around a bit. Now, I will say he did a great job as Frankenstein's monster.
Oh, absolutely.
And really, after, earlier today, I sat down with Lindsay, and for the first time, she's seen Bride of Frankenstein. Just look at what Karloff did in that, and look at what Tom Noonan did with that. You can see he was definitely taking a page out of Karloff's book.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
But one person in this movie that I feel like doesn't get the due credit is Duncan Rieger, who played Dracula.
Yeah.
I will say he is one of the top 3 cinematic Draculas.
He's one of my favorite Draculas.
And because he did a very cliche Dracula with the cape,
costuming,
the costume, the pendant.
Red,
It was very much a cliche. You see people dressing up like this for Halloween parties, going around going blah, blah, vampire, blah.
I want to suck your blood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this dude was terrifying.
Yeah.
He was
intimidating. Yeah.
And again, had really intense moments, really intense lines. Funny lines, like where he bombs their treehouse and walks away. Meeting adjourned. And when he looks at the dad, the cop, and just says, "I will have your son."
Oh
It's
my
like,
gosh.
Oh yeah, shit, I believe him.
But then also another reason why I love Monster Squad is Wolfman. First off, he's creepy as hell. Like, he's got the snout, and he's just, oh my god, I think I would crap myself if I ever saw this guy in real life.
This is, again, they were going off of a Universal monster look.
Right.
And this will be blasphemy for a lot of people. I prefer this werewolf and this werewolf transformation to the one in American Werewolf in London. American Werewolf in London, even as a kid, I was fascinated by it. I wasn't creeped out. The werewolf transformation in Monster Squad when I was a kid scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. Are you talking about like the bubbling thing when he's dead, or are you talking about the foaming at the mouth
when he's in the phone booth?
Yeah, when he's in the phone booth.
And he's foaming at the mouth, he's turning, he's screaming. It's nowhere near as intensive and detailed as American Werewolf in London.
Right.
I think that on a technical scale, American Werewolf in London is the superior one. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Effectiveness, for me as a fan of film, I feel like Monster Squad was a little more effective.
Yeah.
Because it was quick. You got the idea of it being painful, but it was also creepy and really disturbing.
Also, seeing the human, I think he's listed as Desperate Man on IMDb.
We never find out
his name.
Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite is the desperate man here.
The man in the closet in Real Genius.
Yeah, Laszlo.
Laszlo, there you go. And you see those last shreds of him trying to hold on to himself, and he's foaming at the mouth, and he's going to kill your son, stuff like that. It's like,
it's such a twisted moment.
Yeah, and it's that moment to where the dad is finally taking this stuff seriously. Before it was a joke, like his partner was just laughing while he was just kind of, oh my gosh.
Well,
not
the dad even
crackpot.
hangs up on him, but you can tell it got to him.
Yeah, but just he's going to kill your son, and then that kind of got him going, wait, what? Like, someone's threatening my kid, and just
well, and especially at
really
the
good.
end when Rudy takes him down, that he looks up and just, thank you.
Yeah,
and your heart breaks for him because you realize just in that delivery, it's genuine.
Yeah,
and it's thank you so much. The pain is over.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, there are two people playing that character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name right off, but the Uncle Rico, it plays him as the human. But when it's a werewolf, it's a
completely different
actor.
Yeah, and that because you only ever see the face of the guy playing him as human, he's the one who gets the credit for the whole thing. Like, I never even realized until earlier this year when we watched it at the beginning of October, or at the beginning of the month, that it was a different actor. I never thought to look and see, because you think a talented actor, he's going to be able to pull this off on his own, but no, they wanted someone with a different type of body build and stuff
Probably
like that.
Even stuntman.
Yeah, but I think he is a stuntman. I forget, or I think he might do mainly music now. He's a musician, but he just.
But with the werewolf, they answer the age-old question: if you don't kill him with something silver, what happens? And they blow him up with a stick of dynamite. What we find out is not only does the Wolfman come back together, his clothes come back together.
Yeah.
Which I'm not expecting, naked Wolfman running around, because they even made a joke about that. Why does Wolfman wear pants? So you don't see his Wolfman dork. But in this, it's just like, is nobody going to pay attention to the fact that he was blown up by a stick of dynamite, and when his body comes back together, his jeans mended back together?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a movie where the army responds to a letter written in crayon
by a 5-year-old. From Eugene, there are monsters. Come quick. Misspelled in perfect 5-year-old handwriting.
Yeah.
And they show up with tanks.
Yeah.
All right, who's Eugene? Where are the monsters? Now,
Mommy went in my house.
one thing I want to address is that with these kids, there's a group of, it's like, what, 5 or 6 kids.
Yeah.
Do you realize that by the end of it, only 2 of them actually take out monsters?
Rudy and
Horace. Yeah, Horace takes out Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
But Rudy takes out the Brides of Dracula,
And Wolfman.
the Mummy, and
Yeah.
Wolfman.
I forgot he also took out Mummy, huh?
Yeah, with assistance from Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, Rudy takes out almost all of them except for one, because taking out Dracula, got to give credit to Van Helsing.
Right, yeah.
And, a little bit to Sean, because he does drive the stake into his chest, but misses, apparently. But I just always thought that was great that they're building up this crew of kids, but it's all dominated by one.
But at the same time, you gotta give credit to little Phoebe. She is the one who, at 4 years old, opened up the portal.
Yeah, because
Just
scary German guy gave her
reciting.
what to say.
Yeah, I was about to say reciting bad German, because she's not saying it correctly.
Yeah, which apparently bad German was enough to open up a portal, but you have to make sure she's a virgin. That's the kicker. She doesn't have to say all the words just right, but
Why did it have to be a female?
I've always wondered that myself too. They never specify
Yeah.
that it had to be a female virgin.
Yeah,
I mean, it's probably in the book. They just overlooked it.
Yeah, because they never actually say. All it says is virgin. Yet they automatically start looking for a girl.
Yeah, which is it's a cliche
Yeah.
addition to the old films there. So Monster Squad was on both of our lists.
Yes.
So I'll go ahead and move on next to we've already brought it up because I mentioned that today was the first day that you've actually sat down and watched it start to finish. Bride of Frankenstein. Not only is this one of my favorite films for Halloween, it's one of my favorite films of all time. It is just a film that perfectly encapsulates the feeling of what a black and white film should be, what a classic Universal monster film should be, and it is what a sequel should be, where it takes all the best parts of the first film and builds on them and gives you something even better. And we're in a day and age now where a lot of people say that sequels are inherently inferior to the predecessor. And I think this is one of those perfect examples of where a sequel completely passes over the original and makes something 10 times better.
Yeah.
So I wanted to hear from you, having seen it for the first time today. What were your thoughts on it?
Oh,
Other than,
thanks. Put me on the spot.
absolutely.
Now, I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoy the performance of the guy who plays Dr. Frankenstein. I enjoy him in the original, too. He puts so much emotion into what he does. He does a brilliant job of just acting and reacting, because, the performance is so much more than just simply playing a part. You're also reacting off of the other people. And he does an excellent job of doing that. And he also does an excellent job, I think, in this one of, in the first one, he's just the mad scientist. He's like, I will give my creation life. He's very just, crazy and trying to do this really crazy thing and play God. And in the second one, now he's learned his lesson. But you still see that temptation.
Yeah, he's given a little bit of a a little bit of a carrot is dangled in front of him by Dr. Pistorius, and
at first he's willing.
Yeah,
at first he's in there going, oh, maybe you have a point, and he's willing and everything. But then he realizes this is going to cost me too much, and I've done too much damage already. And he just makes the decision. He changes his mind. He's like, no, I can't do it. Yeah. And that's when what's the Pretoria?
Dr. Pretorius.
Pretorius.
Let me make sure, because I kind of say it wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's Dr. Pretorius.
Yeah.
And because Dr. Pretorius seems like he's wanting to just create life, and it's very quickly realized he's batshit crazy.
Right. Well, yeah. Whenever he brings out these miniaturized people that he grew, apparently, And Frankenstein is going, that's not science, that's black magic.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he just totally grew these people, and apparently one of them was a very horny king that just does not know how to control
because
himself.
he was so in love with the first one that they made to look like a queen.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, we're going to make him a king, and they have such a problem with keeping him in his jar.
Yeah.
In effects that for 1935 are breathtaking.
I really want to know how they did that for the age and everything, because it's not like they had CGI and stuff like that to fall back on.
Exactly. And you've got Colin Clive as Henry Frankenstein giving this great performance where you even believe that he's sitting there looking at these 4-inch people running across a table.
Yeah. So, but it really, it's really good. And I don't remember much of the acting of the girl who plays Elizabeth from the first one.
I hate to say she is forgettable. I mean, there's a reason why she was
recast,
swapped out for the next film.
But when the monster comes in and takes her, she does a brilliant performance when she's being carried out by Karloff. That scream is blood curdling.
Oh yes,
that scream is
definitely epic.
That scream is just blood curdling. Like, she should be up there with Jamie Lee Curtis as a scream queen. Just that scream is fantastic. And then it's not like a weak "help me, Henry, help me." It is, she is fighting for her life, screaming for help and everything. And sorry, I just realized where my foot was.
That's fine. Go ahead and kick me in the balls while we're recording.
I was like, why is the bottom of my foot getting so warm? Oh, that's body temperature.
Yeah, baby. Come on, put your foot back there.
No.
I'll warm up your foot.
Are you going to edit that out?
I don't know. Haven't decided yet. But, and this is something that I kind of brought up after we finished watching it that I want to bring up again.
Okay.
Is the importance of this film in pop culture and in just movie history.
Okay.
Because Elsa Lancaster played the Bride of Frankenstein, also played Mary Shelley in the opening. But she plays the bride and has maybe 5 minutes of screen time.
Like, if that.
Really, if that. And is one of the most recognizable movie monsters of all time.
Yeah.
She's barely in it.
Yeah.
But you show...
The whole movie is named after her.
The whole movie's named after her, but you show somebody a picture of the Bride of Frankenstein, even if they've never seen the film, they know that is the Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to think about how little screen time this character has, and she is heralded as one of the greatest.
Yeah.
And, or just, I would say one of the most iconic, because you see, things of the Universal monsters together, and she's up there with Frankenstein, with Bela Lugosi's Dracula, Lon Chaney's Wolfman. She's one of the top. She's probably more recognizable and more popular than the Mummy or the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What gets me though is the way that they did her stitching and her scarring. If you notice, it all comes up, like under her jawline, like underneath. None of the scarring goes across her face. And I'm wondering how much of that was on purpose to preserve her beauty.
I think it was all on purpose to preserve her beauty, to accentuate the beauty of the character.
Right.
But still, I just think it's fascinating that to this day, 5 minutes of screen time, and she's an icon.
Yeah.
So, all right, so what do you got next on your list there?
Okay, so since you did black and white, I'm going to go to black and white and say the original Wolfman.
Oh, yes.
That is my favorite black and white. I like Dracula. Yeah, I love vampires, so I can I watch any of that stuff and everything. But my favorite of the black and whites is Wolfman. It's just one of those ones where, again, it has that feel, and that's the thing. Those movies, they've got to have that feel.
It's got the atmosphere.
It definitely has that atmosphere.
Gothic atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, because they've got the whole the mist going across. You got Bela Lugosi as the Gypsy Man. I can't remember the Gypsy Man's name. Bella.
Yeah.
Bella. It was Bella. And, you're saying, beware the, like the wolf's banes. I mean, I forget all the stuff that he says, but then also that cane. I want a replica of that cane so bad. They're like $400 to $700 depending on who you find selling.
And
them.
that's the cane that Larry's father has and uses to beat his son to death, isn't it?
No, he gets it from the girl that he falls in love with. He finds it in the shop that her family owns.
Yeah, I don't know why
I
just remember his dad beating him to death with a cane.
Right. Yeah. That's because he does. But the thing is, you kind of realize that Larry Talbot is a bit of a perv because how he originally falls for her is.
He's a peeping Tom.
Yeah, he's a peeping Tom. The shop that the girl that he falls in love with, I can't remember her name. The shop that her and her dad run, they live in the apartment above it, and Larry is using a telescope and looks into her bedroom. And so then he's like, oh, she's working down in the shop. So he goes down to the shop and everything, and he starts trying to play himself off as a psychic, describing the earrings that she left on her dresser. It's like, oh my gosh, you sick pervert. Just stop.
So as the Wolfman, he's a predator. As Larry Talbot, he's a sexual predator.
It's so wrong. But just there's something about, the story. It's the whole thing because, she's kind of being courted by this other guy, but she's falling for Larry because he's super charming and he is super charming, and he does this wonderful performance because he is both. It's not like in Monster Squad where it's one person playing the desperate man and someone else playing the Wolfman. He is Larry Talbot and he is the Wolfman, and he completely changes his demeanor, his stance when he walks. He hunches himself over. He's got the footing to make his feet different and everything, which also is going to affect his walk. But then it's perfect from being the stand-up straight, semi-gentlemanly, charming. I have to say semi, considering.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. He's really laying it on thick to a woman he knows is spoken for. Right, yeah.
At the same time, it's hard to say this, but it's like, guys at the time, if you look at the way guys respected women, that those types of things are...
It's very representative of the early 40s.
Exactly. But he is really charming, and you see that when he realizes that this is a real thing. If I remember correctly, it's been a year since I watched it, so he does try to get her to stay away from him, and he ends up going out into the woods at night, but he's trying to warn her. I'm a werewolf. You gotta stay away from me, and she's like, everyone else is going, oh, Larry Talbot's nuts, but she's all, there's something wrong and I need to stay by his side. And the guy that's been courting her is like, you need to stay away from him. And she is all, no, he needs me. But, it's so you see this, this sweet relationship that's developed between these two. And it's just got that tragic, sad ending. There's no happy ending to this. Because...
Yeah, definitely.
Especially whenever they realize there's a wolf and it's attacking someone, and then the dad comes over with this cane and starts beating the wolf to death. And then after the wolf is dead, it changes and he realizes he's just beat his son to death.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be heart-wrenching. And so it hits you on different levels of the romance and the heartache. And
now, I want to point out something that I didn't realize until it was pointed out to me in a video I was recently watching. And I think it's in this one where when Larry first changes, or one of the first transformations, he's sitting there in slacks and a white, I hate the term, but a wife beater undershirt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's looking at his feet, and they're getting hairy. And when we see him as the wolf, he's wearing a long sleeve button-up shirt.
Oh, yeah. I think I know what scene you're talking about.
And that is something that for the longest time, it never even registered with people because it was, oh my gosh, he's the Wolfman. Not realizing that sometime during this change, he put a shirt back on.
Yeah. The Wolfman found time to change clothes.
But a lot of people don't realize that with this film, he doesn't change at the full moon. The whole thing of introducing the full moon as a bit of transformation doesn't come up until later appearances, because after this, there's no direct sequel. There's nothing like, Bride of Frankenstein being the direct follow-up for Frankenstein.
Right.
Wolfman shows up again in Frankenstein, or Wolfman Meets Frankenstein, and then shows up again in following films like House of Dracula and stuff like that.
Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
It's such a good movie. That's one we've got to watch every year too.
Which one is? Oh, Invisible Man. We need to sit down. I have never seen Invisible Man.
Oh, Abbott and Costello Meet
the Invisible Man.
And which we have. It's on the Abbott and Costello set that we just bought.
Yeah.
But with the character of Larry Talbot in The Wolfman, he shows up several more times, but it's always in a versus film where he meets other Universal monster films, which I think is just fantastic. But you look at Lon Chaney Jr., he shows up in other Universal monster films as other monsters.
Yeah.
He's played Frankenstein's monster. He also played the mummy, Karis.
Yeah.
In like 3 or 4 of the films after Boris Karloff did the first film, and then they decided they're not going to do, Boris Karloff's mummy and Lon Chaney Jr.'s mummy are 2 different mummies.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize that. But Lon Chaney Jr. he is, for a lot of people, Universal monster.
Yeah.
He is the Universal monster because he did so well with so many characters.
Well, he's Lon Chaney Jr. His dad, Lon Chaney, was like this. Really, he was a silent film actor.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah, and he was highly sought after and everything, and he had this huge reputation to such a degree that it was deemed that Lon Chaney Jr. would never be able to live up to his father's reputation, and in his time he didn't. No. And in fact, I think he actually died deeply in debt.
I think so too. Deeply in debt and an alcoholic, from what I understand.
And so he was never able to live up to his father's reputation in life. But now, think about it. I mean, yeah, sure, people may know about Hunchback of Notre Dame, but what else do they even realize that is Lon Chaney? And what else do they know Lon Chaney for? Yeah. But, say Lon Chaney Jr.,
he's had the lasting legacy.
He's had the lasting legacy. And I think that just, it's like traditional artist syndrome, I guess,
So, since we doubled up on Monster Squad, this is the last one on my list.
Okay.
Evil Dead 2.
Okay. I figured you were going to have something on there.
Yeah, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn is the epitome of an atmospheric horror film. And it is funny when it needs to be, but the humor never takes away from the fear factor almost.
Right.
The humor, you can have a scene where they're jumping up and down on a trap door on the head of a deadite. It pops an eyeball out, flies across the room into a woman's mouth, and you're laughing for a second, but then you go back to being immediately creeped out.
I'm creeped out the moment that eyeball hits that girl in the mouth.
But with this film, the creature design of the Deadites,
oh my gosh, that's why
amazing.
That's why I won't let you show it to the girls, aside from any like language.
Yeah. Well, we have 2 children, an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old girl, and we let the girls watch Army of Darkness because that is a lot more tame,
right,
than Evil Dead 2. But like you've got the friend that shows up with the daughter of the doctor when he turns to a deadite and he's floating and he's twitching and he's got that open mouth that starts. Yeah, Lindsay has a thing about mouths, and when I remind her of that mouth, she just cringes and.
Oh my gosh, I hate you right now.
Yeah, it's almost midnight right now when
Is
we're
it
recording.
really almost midnight?
Yeah, it's almost midnight,
Jeez.
and so I'm inadvertently putting that into her head just before we go to bed.
Oh, you suck. You so suck.
But this is the movie more so than the original Evil Dead. This is the film that made people love Bruce Campbell.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is the film that really showed that Sam Raimi has what it takes to be a lasting director and a lasting influence in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And, he goes on to, he takes things that he did in these graphic horror films and then turns them into a superhero franchise and does 3 Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
One that's really good, one that's amazing, and one that's a rotting piece of shit. But still, Sam Raimi is a force to be reckoned with. Bruce Campbell is going to be one of those actors that when he's gone, we're still going to be looking back on his body of work and saying he wasn't in the best films, but even in bad movies, he was the best thing in it.
Yeah.
McHale's Navy is not a good film, but it's a hell of a lot of fun, especially with him in it.
Bubba Hotep.
Bubba Hotep is another one, and that is, I'm just going to say real quick, another honorable mention.
Right.
If you've never seen Bubba Hotep, it is a mummy film with Bruce Campbell starring as Elvis.
Yeah.
And this is a reality where Elvis swapped places with an Elvis impersonator, and it was the impersonator who did all the drugs, got fat, and died near a toilet, whereas the real Elvis just lived in obscurity and made money as an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah.
And now he's dying in an old folks' home.
And nobody will believe that he's the real Elvis.
Nobody believes he's the real Elvis. A mummy shows up and starts sucking souls out of people's butts.
A mummy with cowboy boots.
Yeah, and that's why they call him Bubba Hotep.
Yeah.
And his best friend in the old folks' home is an elderly black gentleman who swears he's JFK. But anyway, Evil Dead 2. Just everything about the cabin. There's a reason why Cabin in the Woods is not only a really fun film and was this close to actually being on my list, but it was that close to being on my list too. The whole idea of the cabin in the woods became a staple of horror films because of Evil Dead. Mm-hmm. And because of Evil Dead 2. And it is graphic to a degree that I don't think people are going to be prepared for if they've never seen it. Yeah. Even by modern standards, it is graphic and gory and really just shocks you, especially when he decides this hand's got to go and pulls out the chainsaw.
Yeah.
Even I don't think Game of Thrones does the level of blood that they did in this film.
Well, they even, in the special features, they even talk about wanting to keep the gore factor minimalized, which is why all the blood turns into different colors.
Yeah, it goes black
and green and just different stuff like that. It's because they were trying to keep it from being all this gory blood.
Yeah, but they still ended up using gallons upon gallons of all of this. But when it comes to Evil Dead, just everything that they did with that is part of pop culture. And part of horror pop culture. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody knows the catchphrase, groovy. Yeah, everybody knows groovy. The Necronomicon shows up in other movies. Yeah. The Necronomicon shows up in Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. The knife that they use at the end that the girl gets stabbed in the back with by Ash's other hand is in Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. It is the knife that you have to kill Jason with. So now there's this whole big fan theory that Mrs. Voorhees used the Necronomicon to bring Jason back from the dead.
Oh, really?
That Jason really did drown when he was a kid. And that's how she brings him back, is the Necronomicon,
So he's a Deadite?
saying that Jason's a Deadite.
Huh.
Which I think would be fascinating. But again, it's just Evil Dead just bled into pop culture because of this film. And I think this film, more so than Army of Darkness, and definitely more so than the original, is the reason why we have a television show, Ash versus the Evil Dead, going into its 3rd season.
Yeah.
It's back in full force. Ash versus Evil Dead, we've got the 1st season on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It's everything I wanted. I could not be happier with that. I cannot wait. We don't have stars, so we have to wait until it's on Blu-ray, and we need to get season 2. I'm looking forward
So
to it.
is out already?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely out. It's been out for a few months now.
Oh, has it? Oh.
Okay.
Shows how much I keep track, huh?
So that's the last one on my list. What's your last movie, hon?
I was couldn't figure out which one I wanted, so I had to tie a couple. Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Okay.
Okay, tied with American Werewolf in London, because American Werewolf in London really hits my cinematographer kind of
Your
film-
movie buff.
my
yeah.
movie buff and everything with like the transformation. The transformation is beautiful, and it's the first time it was ever actually done in a way that you could see the transformation.
You see tendons pulling.
yeah,
You
it's
see
just-
the pain.
Yeah. And at the same time, I'm sitting there going, all this is going on. How the heck is he still talking? Because there's points where he is going, please, someone help me. I'm like,
he's screaming.
I'm like, how are your vocal cords still working to the degree of being able to make words? I mean, wouldn't you just be screaming incoherently at this
Or
point?
even passed out from the pain.
Well, and we talked about that, though, because talking about him being passed out from the pain, at what point does he pass out, he go away, and the wolf comes
Very true.
in?
Very true.
You know?
Yeah, we talked about this briefly a couple episodes ago. And just to remind people, this film is so important, and that transition scene is so important. It is the reason we have the Oscar for visual effects.
Yeah.
Because it was created for this film, and the original Oscar for this category was given to Rick Baker.
Yeah. But so between that and also between Bram Stoker's Dracula, and again, you know, for reasons that, you know, it hits that film buff movie maker in me that loves the visuals. Also, I love Gary Oldman. I know that this movie gets a lot of flack because of the hair.
Yeah,
when
the
he's
old version of Dracula
Yeah.
in the red.
In the second Hotel Transylvania 2, they actually make fun of it because they need the human family to pretend to be monsters because Dracula's dad, Vlad, played by Mel Brooks, is showing up. And he doesn't like humans, so they're trying to disguise him. And he's the son-in-law is wearing a costume that looks like
Yeah.
old Dracula, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "What? It was the last thing they had." He's like, "You look like you've got a baboon's butts on your head." And so, you know, so yeah, it gets flack. It definitely gets flack for
some weird
for-
design choices.
Yeah, some weird design choices and everything.
and some weird story choices.
And Keanu Reeves. British accent, just
Not good.
No.
Not good.
no, not good at all. But
Well, there's also the scene, the one scene that I hear a lot of people talk about as in a what were they thinking moment was the scene where Lucy and Mina are running through the rain in the garden maze.
yeah,
And then they just stop and make out. And it's just like, where did that come from?
yeah. And then other people go on about how, you know, first he's old, then he's young, then he's a bat, then he's a wolf, and
He changes
he's
shape.
missed. And I mean, that's just, I'm like, why is that confusing to people? That's basic Dracula lore that he has the ability to turn into these creatures. Now, why is he able to go from old to young? Why wouldn't he just always stay young? That one I can't give you an answer to. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. But maybe he felt like he needed to be old and therefore wizened whenever someone comes to say, hey, let's work together on this. And then he felt like he needed to be young and seductive when he goes to meet Winona Ryder's character, when he goes to meet Mina. Thank you. I almost called her Lucy, and I'm like, that's not right.
Well, and they've swapped that around in the Hammer Dracula films. It's the other way around, where Mina is the one that gets turned and is staked by Van Helsing, and Lucy is the one that he's, come be my bride.
Yeah, but in the book it is Mina is well, actually I don't even think that love story is really
no,
an
that
undertone.
love story
That's
is
added.
complete fabrication.
Completely added. But I love Gary Oldman's. He is such a chameleon. He is brilliant in just about anything that he does. He throws off all these different accents, and he changes the way he carries himself. He just does so much stuff to
I've got to say, I apologize for the rage.
Okay.
It is absolute horseshit that Jonah Hill has been nominated for an Oscar twice.
Oh my gosh.
And Gary Oldman's been nominated once.
Once in his entire career, he's been nominated once. And whenever he got that nomination, because Natalie Portman was the one presenting that year, and she worked with him in Leon in The Professional.
Yeah.
Right? And so she's standing up there, and I think she was pregnant at the time too, but because I just remember going, oh, that's cute. But but she's standing up there presenting it, and it was for Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, I believe is what he was nominated for. And she gets up there and she goes, and finally, about time, my friend Gary Oldman is being nominated. And everyone's like, yeah! And everyone's like putting their hands together. And then he doesn't get it. And everyone's like,
well, thank God Jonah Hill doesn't have it. If Jonah Hill has an Oscar, I'm going to lose my mind. But you look at the things that Gary Oldman's done.
I know.
When he played Sid Vicious in was it Sid and Nancy?
Yeah.
Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Harry Potter films, when he played Detective Gordon, Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, Commissioner Gordon.
And the Batman films. Leon, I could just start running down the list of everything he's ever done is Academy Award potential.
Yeah, I mean, there was he was brilliant in A More to Beloved as Beethoven. Mm-hmm. Just so good. And then he goes, whenever he first was being offered the part, he goes, I just don't want anything with weird hair. And they go, reread the script. It's like, okay.
And then Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Oh my gosh. This is one of my favorites.
Gary Oldman
with him and Tim Roth.
Yeah, him and Tim Roth are brilliant in that. He's an amazing actor that just doesn't get the credit.
No, not at all.
And then here you look at him as the old Dracula, and then the young Dracula, and then the Bat version. I mean, he just seamlessly transitions.
Yeah. So, but it just, and he was, oh gosh, what was this other one that I can't remember the name of it, but it had Raising Arizona, was it? I don't remember, but he plays like this Southerner with like this 10-gallon hat, and he's throwing off the twang whenever he talks.
He's not in Raising Arizona. No, I can tell you that.
Okay, but it is some sort of Arizona-esque title type of movie.
Well, and here's one that, again, referencing the unreleased episode that we did as a test. Mm-hmm. Interstate 60.
Interstate 60.
Again, that was definitely an Academy nomination potential right there. It just doesn't get the credit. And Bram Stoker's Dracula is definitely weird.
Yeah.
Not going to deny that at least bit. And like you already mentioned, Keanu Reeves couldn't do a British accent to save his life.
No.
He is the weakest part of this film. The film just, again, I'm going to use a word that I've used several times before. The atmosphere of the film is beautiful. It is breathtaking. And the scenes of
the very beginning, whenever his wife dies, and he decides to turn his back on God.
He renounces
God. Well, she doesn't die; she commits suicide
because she thought he was
dead. And if I remember correctly, the actual tale of Vlad Tepes, his wife does kill herself.
I think so.
She just, but it wasn't because she thought he was dead. It was because she realized how much of a monster he was.
Yeah.
And-
Let's just say that Vlad had a very interesting idea about lawn ornaments.
So she actually did kill herself. But in this, it's more of oh, my love is gone and dead. I can't live without him. And then she just, and then kills herself.
Well,
I'm laughing as I say that. Oh my gosh.
Just think about the imagery that they give you in this film, especially in Dracula's castle, with the brides. The creepy thing they do with the brides where they all join up into this weird super bride and walk away like in a crab walk.
Yeah, that's creepy.
And there's that scene that disturbs me now.
I was thinking of one that was mentioned in one of those. I don't think it was Boots and Reboots. It was that
Monster Madness.
Yeah.
Lindsay's talking about some YouTube shows that I watch about movie monsters and Cinemassacre's Monster Madness.
Yes, that one. He's talking about the eyes on the train. Mm-hmm. That again is a beautiful part. It's one of those, beautiful cinematography, beautiful. The framing in it is beautiful. How you have Keanu Reeves kind of off to the side and the window being shown, and then the eyes just come in, and it's just the way everything is edited. It's really really
when
nicely
he's
done.
Waiting for the coach, and the coach driver pulls up, and is like 7-8 feet away from him,
and just reaches his
out
hand without even having to bend, just reaches the whole hand out.
But I was saying, there's that scene with the baby where they feed the baby.
Disturbing.
It is so disturbing.
Yeah.
And again, it just adds to that atmosphere.
One of my favorite scenes, though, is Jonathan Harker is in his room at Dracula's castle, still over in Transylvania, and he nicks himself. And then all of a sudden, Dracula is right behind him.
There.
And then
I smell blood.
And he's kind of like, he's realizing that, oh, I didn't see him in the mirror. I must have just missed him type of attitude, right? And then you hear the wolves howling. Yeah. And he's like, and then Dracula says, oh, the creatures of the night, what music they make. Yeah. And then he's like, music? Those animals. And I'm sitting there going, yes, Jonathan, it's music. Get over it. It's music.
You do not insult wolves around Lindsay. Well, and that line is from the book.
It is in the book,
and it's also in the original. It's one of the first lines, Bela Lugosi. The children of the night. What music they make.
Yeah. And another line that's in the book and is in the Bela Lugosi is it's like, oh, they're sitting down for dinner, and he's like, oh, would you join me? And he's like, oh, I never drink wine. Yeah. That was used in an Anita Blake book.
Gosh. Oh God, what'd they use the wine for?
No. It was before she got her harem.
Okay.
It was early on.
Okay, but real quick, just to explain, Anita Blake books, they started off kind of as a vampire slayer, and now it's, let's just say, if you thought True Blood was vampire porn, you ain't read nothing yet.
She went from vampire slayer to vampire layer.
Okay, so on that note, we definitely need to wrap this up tonight, but I just want to recap again. These are just our favorite films, the ones that get us best in the Halloween spirit. So to recap for mine, it was Bride of Frankenstein, Evil Dead 2, Shaun of the Dead, Monster Squad, and then a double feature of The Addams Family and Addams Family Values.
And to recap mine, it was When Good Ghouls Go Bad, the original Wolfman, Monster Squad, Attack the Block, Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula, and American Werewolf in London.
So, again, just our opinions. These are the ones that get us in the Halloween spirit, and we'd love to hear which ones get you in the Halloween spirit. So, hey, you're probably listening to this on SoundCloud. We're looking to get this on iTunes soon, but hey, leave us a comment. let us know what films get you into the Halloween spirit. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook. It's facebook.com/The Containment Unit Podcast. And you can shoot us an email at thecontainmentunitpodcast@gmail.com. I want to thank everyone for listening. And I'm not entirely certain which one we're going to do next. We've got a few topics floating around. We want to talk about Star Wars because we got a new film coming up and some things going on in the Star Wars universe with J.J. Abrams being announced as the director for the 9th film. A lot of people are trying to get him off the project. There's actually a petition right now to have him fired from the project. So definitely want to talk about that. We want to talk about Star Trek. You know, we've got a new Star Trek series on their on-demand app.
And the Star Trek series is being heavily compared to the Orville.
Which I think is the better Star Trek series. So we got some sci-fi ideas coming up. We've got some general stuff coming up. Going to have more members of the Phoenix Ghostbusters coming in, our charity group that we're very proud to be part of. More news coming on that. We got Fan Fest coming up. Ernie Hudson from the Ghostbusters is going to be there at Fan Fest. Would love to get a chance to talk to him, just meet him, shake his hand. That guy's one of my favorite actors.
I would love to have an interview with him.
Oh, definitely. I doubt that we're even going to have a chance to, but it would be amazing.
I know, but still, like
we got a lot of great stuff coming up.
Wishing on a star.
Yeah, we're wishing on a star. Ernie Hudson interview, please, please. But a lot of great stuff, and we're having a lot of fun doing this, and we hope that you're having a lot of fun listening. And I want to thank you for listening again.
Thanks.